Okay, so we're back to apartment hunting in Boston. Today, we're going to be looking at 3 apartments in the Seaport district. I've been in Boston now for about 7 years, and I've always lived on the South Shore, around Braintree, Weymouth, Nantasket Beach type areas. I love living on the South Shore. It's such an amazing vibe, and it feels like home to me. But about 3 years ago, I got a job working for a Fortune 250 company in Woburn, which is northwest of the city. And with traffic in Boston, it is a horrible commute. It was fine for the first 2.5 years because I was able to work from home 4 days a week, so I really only had to deal with it 1 day a week. But I recently got promoted, and so now I have to be in the office 4 days a week. And the commute can be an hour and a half to 2 hours one way. So it's really brutal. So I've decided to move into downtown Boston. I love the city, and most importantly, I love the ocean. So I really want to be somewhere close to the harbor, at least somewhere where I can get there within a couple of blocks in just a few minutes. And ideally, I would love to have a harbor view. We'll see if we can afford that. But I'm really looking forward to being in the city. It has such an amazing vibe. I'm so excited to be closer to all the restaurants and shops and all the activities that there are. It seems like every weekend there's something fun to do. So I'm going to do a series of videos about all the different neighborhoods that I'm going to look at. There's probably at least 5 or 6 different neighborhoods. We're going to start today with the Seaport district. So Boston's Seaport district, it kind of feels like the city put on designer sunglasses and decided to reinvent itself. It's all glass buildings, $8 lattes, and apartments that cost more than your soul. It used to be warehouses and parking lots just 10 years ago. But now everything is shiny and brand new, curated and wildly expensive. But it's also completely beautiful. And it's right on the water. If Boston had a look at me neighborhood, this is definitely it. So the first apartment that we're going to look at is right as you come into the Seaport district. It's called the Benjamin. I love the location of this apartment. It seems like if you're lucky, if you're on a high enough floor, you could have an amazing view of the harbor. Also, the first 3 floors of this building are retail space. Who wouldn't want to live right on top of a mall? Although it could be very dangerous. There's also a movie theater here called the Alamo Drafthouse, which I haven't been into, but I've heard amazing reviews about it. All right, so let's start with the amenities for this apartment. They are all located on the 4th floor. So you have a coffee bar, which isn't really a coffee bar, but kind of. There's a bunch of communal spaces, a very nice fireplace, and there's tons of outdoor space with an amazing view. I mean, look at this view. I feel like every apartment that I look at, I always look at all the amenities and I think this would be amazing. I would totally use this space, and then I never do. But I really think that if I lived in this apartment, I would use this outdoor space. I absolutely love this view. So of course we have a gym as well, and there's a pool too. The pool looks pretty nice, and there's barbecue spaces as well. Again, probably something I would never use. All right, so let's go look at the apartment. Okay, so here's the apartment. This one is actually bigger than one that I would rent because it's a 1-bedroom, and I'm probably only gonna get a studio. But if it's at least on the 14th floor and it's on the right side of the building, you get a gorgeous view of the harbor. So there's that, reason enough to pay $3,000 a month. Okay, let's be honest, it's probably $4,000. The kitchen looks regular. I mean, nothing like super fancy. It does look better than the last one that I saw, which was the Via, I think, or the VO. Here's Via. There's 2 closets. which I would need. And then the bathroom. This one actually has way more counter space than what I have. And this one has a bathtub. I don't know if the studio ones have a bathtub. But it would be so nice because I love taking baths. And then, oh, there's another closet. And a washer and dryer, which is also nice. So yeah, I mean, I feel like half of what you're paying for here is right here. And to be honest, I think it's worth it. What do you think? Okay, there's a 2-bedroom on the tour, so I couldn't help myself. There's no way in a million years that I could afford this one. I would say like probably six grand a month. I don't know, I'll have to look. The other one actually had a better view, which is kind of funny. I mean, there's not a lot of space in here. I don't even know how you would put a couch in here. It'd have to be a small couch. I feel like the other living room was bigger. These rooms are tiny too. I mean, I don't know what I was expecting, but ensuite. That's probably more like what the bathroom looks like in the studio, to be honest. I think that's what I've seen in the pictures. And then there's another bathroom. And the other bedroom. It's so small. Let's see the closet. The closet is probably like, I don't know, 1/4 of the size of what I have now. Oh, this one has its own thermostat because there was another thermostat in the living room. You just get to stare at your neighbors. Oh, they're cleaning the windows. Isn't that awesome? Crazy. Yeah, so I don't know. Is this worth 6 or 7 grand a month? You tell me, what do you think? Okay, so I'm sure you're wondering, how much does this place cost? Before we talk about that, there's something else that we have to talk about that I forgot to tell you. The Boston metro area has more than 50 colleges and universities, including Harvard, MIT, Northeastern, Boston College, Boston University, and Tufts. There's a bunch of them. Why that's important? Well, if you're like me and you have a September 1st move-in date, that's horrifying. That's when everybody from all of those colleges has their move-in date. If you are moving to Boston, you do not want a September 1st move-in date. I don't know how I got myself into that situation, but somehow I was not paying attention, and here we are. Not only is it really bad because the rent prices are inflated, which they're already horrifyingly high, they're going to be even higher with that move-in date. It's also bad because if you need a moving service or even if you need a moving truck, it's impossible to get one at that time. So you end up having to move a lot earlier than what you want in early August or mid-August, which even then gets kind of sketchy. Or you have to move after September 1st, which then You either have to pay another month's rent in your old apartment, which is generally twice the cost of what it usually is, or you have to find somewhere else to live for several days, if not several weeks, until you can move. So whatever you do, if you're moving to Boston, do not move September 1st and do not get stuck with a September 1st move-in date. It's really bad. Going back to the first reason that you don't want a September move-in date, a September 1st move-in date, the prices of rent will be inflated in the summer. I was looking at these same apartments just 2 months ago, and they were almost $1,000 less per month. So these prices are incredibly high, but they're even higher than what they usually are. So having said all of that, how much is it to rent a studio apartment at the Benjamin? Right now, as of early June 2025, it's going to set you back $3,500 to $3,700 a month, depending on what floor you're on and the exact square footage and layout of the apartment. Also, on top of that, you're going to have to pay utilities. And if you have a car like I do, you'll have to pay for parking, which is $500 a month. Parking at this particular building, while they do have a garage, which is super nice, it's not a dedicated garage. It's a public garage. So you're paying $500 a month, but you don't have a reserved space. Okay, so let's talk about some of the positives and the negatives from this place. The positives: it's an amazing location. I don't think that there could be a better location. Maybe if just that one building was moved, then you would have a direct harbor view, but if you're high enough, it doesn't matter. You still have an amazing view. This building has great amenities as well. That outdoor space is absolutely amazing. The pool was very nice as well. The rest of the spaces looked very nice, although I don't tend to use most of those spaces. I always think that I will, but then I never do. Having parking on site is fantastic. And there's spots available right away, which is important. And they have EV chargers as well. Since I drive a Tesla, that's incredibly important to me. So the negatives, obviously the cost, it's incredibly high. It's $1,000 more a month than what I'm used to paying. Plus the parking is $350 more per month, what I'm used to paying. So that's massive. The parking is in a public garage. I'm not really sure that I like that. Not only does that mean you don't have a dedicated spot, but it also means you never know who's going to be in the garage. And if you have to leave early for work, or if you're traveling for work and for some reason you're coming home at 3 o'clock in the morning, you never know what you're going to get into. Also, this apartment building is open to anyone, including undergrads, which I don't really like. I'm kind of old and I like things being quiet, which I know seems kind of strange that I want to live downtown, but I also like everything being quiet. I don't want to get into a situation where there's somebody above me or beside me or below me, really, that is making all kinds of noise, especially at all hours of the night. That would be incredibly miserable. I think another negative also is probably the limited view. You're going to have to be on the right side of this building and on a high enough floor, which I believe that these apartments that we looked at were on the 14th floor. So you're going to have to be at least on the 12th to 14th floor in order to have a harbor view and on the right side of the building. So I feel like it's going to be probably pretty rare to get that. You never know. You could get lucky. All right, so that's the first one. The second building that we're going to look at is called the Metlo. This one is quite a ways from the harbor. It is 4 to 6 blocks, depending on how you look at it. It does have amazing amenities, aside from the pool. The apartment manager was giving me a tour, and when he showed me the pool, I almost laughed. I seriously thought it was a hot tub. And he was like, "Here's the pool. What do you think? Isn't it awesome?" And I was like, really? That's it? That's the whole thing? I assume that not very many people use it because, I mean, you really couldn't have that many people in there. And the whole space itself was incredibly small. And it was facing south, which the view is South Boston, which is definitely not the harbor. There was a nice gym there, though, and they had free workout classes, and they have a full-time on-site trainer, which was something different Nobody else had that. They had a lot of other communal spaces though, including a bunch of outdoor space, some barbecue spots, and another area where you could watch TV, and they said that you could rent out any of those spaces. This place also had a movie theater, which was super nice. None of the other places had that either. And they had an apartment that's available to rent, kind of like an Airbnb, just in case your family or friends come out of town. I don't remember how much it cost. I want to say it was $300 to $400 a night and probably a 3-night minimum. All right, so let's go check out the apartment. Okay, so here is the studio apartment. It's so small. There's barely enough room for a bed. Barely room for a chair. I mean, that's the tiniest couch and a TV. Maybe a small desk. The closet is, regular closet sized, but not a lot of space here. Okay, so then the kitchen, small appliances, just a 2-burner stove, barely enough space for a table. And then the bathroom, it was super nice, but it's very small. Okay, so I'm sure that you're wondering, how much does this apartment cost? This one was actually the most affordable of the 3 that we looked at, with studio apartments starting from $3,200 to $3,800 per month, depending on what floor you're on and what side of the building you're on. Also, parking here is $500 a month as well. They do have a dedicated garage, which is good, but right now they don't have any spots available, so you would be on a waiting list. The apartment manager did tell me that there are 2 other public garages that are real close to the building. I think one was across the street and one was maybe a block down. Again, around the same price, about $500 a month. So obviously that's an option until a spot in their dedicated building becomes available. So as far as this one goes, the positives, there were great amenities aside from the pool. The movie theater was awesome. That would be super cool to rent it out, but I think he said that if you want to rent it, it was like $100, maybe it was $50 an hour. And then all the other spaces were $100 an hour. So if you want to watch a movie, you got to pay $100. It was very nice though. The location was decent. It was kind of a ways from the harbor, but it did feel safe and nice in that area. And another positive is it was the lowest cost. The negatives, obviously the waiting list for parking. That's not good. The apartment manager said that they were rolling through the waiting list quickly, but of course he's not going to tell you it's going to take 6 months to actually get a spot. The pool was incredibly small, terrible funny joke, and it's really not close to the harbor. In fact, it's the furthest away from the harbor of all the apartments that I looked at. Okay, so let's go look at the last one. This one is the nicest one that I looked at. This is called the Alyx at the Echelon. So the first thing that we did was look at the amenities. Of course, they always want to show you all the amenities first. There were very nice communal spaces, although there weren't a lot of them. There was some outdoor space that wasn't connected to the pool, which was nice, and there's an area to do yoga. The apartment manager told me that they do yoga classes there sometimes. There was a gym that was very nice, and the pool was definitely the nicest one that I looked at. The apartment manager said that this is the biggest pool in Boston. I don't know if that's true, but it sounds true. It looks very nice. They also have an apartment, a 2-bedroom apartment that's available for rent if you have family or friends in town. And she said that it was $450 a night, and there's a 3-night minimum. Okay, so let's look at the apartment. Okay, this is by far the nicest apartment that I looked at. I absolutely love all of the finishes in here. The floors, everything just looks absolutely amazing. This apartment is a little bit bigger than what I would probably get. This room would probably be the whole of the apartment. I love this window, the way that it pops out, so there's 2 different views. I'm not wild about the pool view, and it's towards like the interior of the building. So there's like a little There's a mall on the inside and the pool kind of sits above the mall, so probably not a lot of sunlight. So this particular unit has a bedroom. The one that I would get probably wouldn't have a bedroom, but this is super nice. And then the bathroom, again, super nice finishes. I wish it had a bathtub. It does not have a bathtub, and the one that I would get probably wouldn't have a bathtub, but I do like the washer and dryer. That's very, very nice, and almost like a must-have. Everything about this building is just absolutely gorgeous. I love every part of it. All of the amenities were amazing. Yeah, I really hope that I can live in this building because it's wonderful. This one that we looked at is actually bigger than the apartments that I would be considering renting. She said that it's called an elevated studio or something like that. I don't remember. It's not a one bedroom, even though it kind of looks like a one bedroom. It was definitely incredibly nice. This building as a whole felt so much nicer than any of the places that I've looked at. Really any of the places that I've ever looked at, including the place that I live now. The appliances are a little bit small, which I didn't like, especially the refrigerator is small and the stovetop burners are a little bit smaller, but it is an overall smaller space. So I don't think that would bother me too much. Everything felt a lot nicer, though all the finishes were way nicer. Even the bathroom felt nicer, and I really think that there is more counter space in this bathroom than what I have at home. Okay, so let's talk about the cost. The cost for this one is $3,300 to $4,200 a month, depending on which floor plan that you choose and what floor of the building that you're on. Again, parking is $500 a month. However, at this building, it's valet parking. Okay, so let's do a quick review. This building overall was absolutely gorgeous. I loved it so much. They have a full-time concierge, which is completely awesome. I don't know what I would use that for, but I definitely feel like I would. They have valet parking, which to me is good and bad, but right now we're just going to focus on the good. They have EV chargers, and the apartment manager told me that the valets will cycle all the cars through the EV chargers, so they'll make sure that your car is charged every morning, which is fantastic. There is amazing amenities. The pool was completely awesome and everything else felt very high quality. And it's a great location. It's just one block from the harbor. The negatives are, it's going to be really hard to get a harbor view. I really don't think that that's going to happen here. Obviously, it's the highest cost. That's a big negative. The valet parking, while I love valet parking and I think it's an amazing feature, I also don't know that I want somebody else driving my car every single day, and I'm a little bit concerned about what happens if something happens to your car, and how does all of that get worked out. And then also, they don't have a lot of EV chargers. She said that they had a couple, that most people don't drive EVs there. Most people drive Range Rovers. And I was like, oh, okay. I think my $50,000 Tesla just made me a poor person. I wasn't expecting that, but I don't know why. I probably should have at one of the most expensive buildings in Boston. All right, so those are the 3 apartments that we looked at in the Seaport district. There is another apartment that I looked at in an earlier video. I'm going to link that in the description and on the end card of the video here. I would love to know what you think about each one of these apartments in the comments. Let me know which one you liked. Let me know which one you hated. Which one of the amenities did you like? And if you had to pick from these 3 apartments, which one would you pick? And then make sure that you come back next week because we're going to go look at some more apartments in a different neighborhood. Next week, we're going to go to the west end of Boston, which is up by TD Garden and the Zakim Bridge. It is between the north end and Beacon Hill. So make sure that you come back next week and we'll see some more beautiful and expensive apartments.